Hello and welcome to our explanation on the preterite tense. So preterite tense really is the past simple in English. Spanish, they cut the past simple into two different use cases, one of them being the preterite, the other one being the imperfect. So first things first, let's get a look at what the past simple tense is in English. And then after that, we kind of dive further into when it's used. So I have here the verb to walk conjugated in the past simple in English. So I walked, you walked, he, she, it walked, we walked, and they walked. This is the past simple. What a fool I am. It is the past simple. So we're going to have two videos, one of them obviously being this one, the preterite, and the other one being the imperfect tense. It's cut into two, but once you get this understanding down, it becomes a lot easier to process what people are telling you. First things first, let's dive into how these are conjugated. So I have here my AR ending. So it's going to be the letter E with a tilde, aste in the two, O with a tilde, amos y aron in Spanish with the AR endings. And then ER-IR endings are going to be the same in this tense, just like in the imperfect. And it's the letter I with a tilde, iste, EO, and that O has a tilde also, emos, and ieron. Okay, so let's look at a couple examples of this now and figure out what it looks like when fully conjugated. Here I have a AR verb and an IR verb. So caminar in the past simple, or I guess in the preterite we're going to say, is camine, caminaste, él caminó, ella caminó, usted caminó, nosotros caminamos, y ellos caminaron. So caminamos is the same as the present. So really you have to understand context when you're speaking to understand which one they mean there, because it is exactly the same. Escribir is an IR verb. We have escribí, escribiste, escribió, escribimos, y escribieron. All right, and then our ER example I have here, comer, comí, comiste, comió, comimos, y comieron. All right, so that's how they look when we apply the endings. But we all know adding the endings, not the tough part for the preterite tense. The tough part is figuring out when to use. So let's jump right into that. I have three kind of main categories that I have filtered these into for when we would use in the past tense. So the first is when an action is fully completed in the past, right? It's one and done. Salte en la playa jueves. I jumped on the beach Thursday. All right, so that's why when we have here the specific time frame, that kind of ties into completed actions. So this thing is one and done. It was done and completed all in the past tense. So those will be preterite conjugated verbs. All right, there's also the interrupting action, cuando. After you use cuando, the verbs after it will be the preterite. The ones before will be the imperfect. So what happens before cuando are imperfect. What happens after are preterite. And all these examples we'll see in the video on the 20 phrases that we translate each one. I think that's really good for this type of comparison that we'll be doing between the preterite and the imperfect. So I don't want to dilly-dally too long on that. Let's just keep on cruising. So we have now our irregulars, and the irregulars and the imperfect are sick. It is so quick. There's only three of them. Not that much luck in the preterite. So for the preterite, every irregular is going to have these endings except for our J's, which we'll talk about in a second. But in the yo form, it's going to be the letter E. In the to form, it's iste, con I, with I, I'm sorry. In the third person singular, it's O. Nosotros is emos, and then ellos is going to be ieron. So our first example are our U stem groups. These ones change from whatever letters they have. They throw a U in at their first vowel. So andar, it starts with the A. That one doesn't count. But then the first vowel becomes anduv. Tener is tuv. So anduve, anduviste, tuvo, tuvimos, pudieron, pudiste, supe, supo. All right? These are our U stem, U or UV irregulars in the preterite. Next, we have our I stem, so same kind of idea. Querer becomes quis. Venere becomes vin, so vine, viniste, quise, quisimos, hacer is ise, hiciste, hacer in the third person singular, so he, she, or it. In Espanol, ella, él, o usted. Remember, usted is not it. Usted is the formal to when you're trying to be professional. That professional to, giving respect to someone, is is. So iso. But then it returns to normal for the other one. So it's just that third person singular. All right. Some more irregulars. We have our J stems. So decir becomes di, traer, tra, conducir, conduc. And then the difference here is in this third person plural. So ellos, ellas, o ustedes, instead of being ieron, it's eron, right? So it's not dijeron, it's dijeron, right? And that just sounds so much smoother when you really lay it out. Dijeron, trajeron, condujiste, okay? So those are the other irregulars, and then we have our completely irregulars, and these ones are fun. Ser and ir, for some reason, are exactly the same. Fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, y fueron. So in that list, we're going to practice distinguishing between those two. But for some reason, they decided to make them conjugate exactly the same. I don't know. That's welcome to Spanish. I don't know. English does weird stuff too, so you can't get too mad. And then our last one is dar. So dar, even though it's an AR verb, follows the ER, IR endings. Di, diste, dio, demos, dieron. All right, so like I said, next steps here, it's really just practice, practice, practice. That's the only way you're ever going to feel comfortable. Ignore that. Doing the preterite and the imperfect. We have the other video posted where we go over 20 sentences and determine which is used where and why and how to conjugate. Go read some articles, pick out any preterite you see, and kind of connect it to why I said we use the preterite in those examples, and see if that connection makes sense. The more you do, the better you'll be, the quicker you'll become bilingual. All right, let's get on over to that other video.